welcome to the Clock and Talk, an Arsenal podcast. I'm your host, Tez. Thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. You'll follow us at _Talk. We're also on Facebook. You can listen to us on all good podcast apps as well as YouTube. Each and every week I'm joined by usually one bloke, sometimes two blokes, depending on how things are going. Ozil didn't start yesterday's game against Bate, Tony, but looks like we've got Schwinn with us this week, mate. So I better introduce him first. How are you, Schwinn?
I've been better. Not been around for the last week, so apologies for that. But I'm back and ready to give in to this team and this manager.
Fair enough, mate. How are you, Tony?
I've definitely been better. Just gone beyond the point of angry and upset. Just, do you know that parent line, "Oh, I'm not angry, I'm disappointed"? That's kind of how I feel about football at the moment.
Jesus, fucking down you boys are, aren't you? I feel like I'm going to cry. Come on, lads.
Wait, are you not? Are you happy about what happened yesterday?
Mate, I'm not happy at all. But I've let my frustration shine through for the last 24 hours or 12 hours or whatever it's been. So now I've chilled out a bit now, mate. I'm calm, chilled, relaxed, and ready to get into this podcast. And those who are listening, I don't want it to be a big negative podcast. You know, it's hard enough with what we went through yesterday. So we'll try and pick these two boneheads up a bit and bring some entertainment your way. But the first 15 minutes is going to be a cunner, isn't it? Tony, Bate. I don't want to go right through the game. I'm fucking not going to. I'm not even going to talk about the starting lineup. I'm not going to talk about the tactics, the fucking anything. But I will get your bit of a rant or views on the match.
Bullshit.
Yes.
Just we could pick into 10 million holes of wrongdoings of every player, wrongdoings of the manager, wrongdoings of the system, wrongdoings of the club as a whole. But, how many times can you say the same thing without just saying it's all a load of nonsense?
It is, and it's very hard to fucking talk about, to be honest, because yesterday, or this morning for me, was... I think I said to you boys on the fucking WhatsApp group, what do I even wake up for? Like, fuck me. Schwinn, your thoughts on it all, mate?
Just to echo what Tony said, disgusting, inefficient, insipid, struggling to find the back of the net against obscure opposition from some Farmers League that haven't played in 2-3 months. They haven't played a competitive game in 2-3 months. Let that sink in. No take-ons, no movement to create space. Both things which are integral to playing the system we did yesterday. And hence, nowhere close to, the correct setup or personnel, one could argue. Of course, we talk about the players and the manager, but, obviously both parties are to blame. I'm sick and tired of hearing we need to overhaul the squad. If you look across last season and this season, there's a wide difference in the players that we have and the players that are getting minutes on there. And I can't help but imagine that Emery is just mismanaging the squad in a lot of ways. We're relying on players who aren't ready. I'm looking at players like Guendouzi, who of course has a bright future, but he has some obvious mistakes in him. Iwobi isn't good enough to be relied on heavily week in, week out. And we're doing all of this as we tend to alienate some of our best players and some of our chief creators, either by letting them rot on their sofas at home or by letting them join Juve on a free transfer. Not utilizing any of the possession. We, of course, had the majority on the day, but no qualitative possession, if you know what I mean. And the execution is beyond horrendous. If these players have to watch this game and this performance again, and I'm sure they'll have to, they'll be distraught by what they're doing. And I can't help but imagine that a lot of fingers are going to be raised at the manager at the end of the day, because the belief is going to get lost soon if this is how it continues. And it has been, to be fair, on and off for the last 2-3 months, arguably more than that. I mean, it's apathetic, as Tony alluded to. It's not upsetting. It's not disappointing. You can see it coming almost at times from the time the lineup is announced, and you have to start questioning the manager. You just have to. Just because you question him on a given day doesn't mean you're Emery out. You know, it's okay to have criticisms. It's okay to believe that Arsenal's time was up, but Emery is still making mistakes. Because till the time we bring ourselves to that realization, we will not be able to come to terms with the potential of having made the wrong option and the wrong choice with this manager. And I, for one, am slowly moving into that direction for sure.
What do you say to them people or them fans who, and the argument has been, but he did win, or he did go undefeated for 22 games straight?
I'll just throw first of all, I'll say that anyone who listened to the show or has watched the games with full attention, they will know that we got lucky. You know, again, I don't want to go to XG, but I've been saying for a while that we will regress to the mean at some time. We were massively overperforming. In a nutshell, we were scoring a high percentages of the chances we were creating, and people were saying that this is going to fall. This rate of converting is going to fall. But to make matters worse, we aren't even creating anymore because, as I said, we're relying on players like Guendouzi and Iwobi who aren't good enough right now. They might be in the future, but they're not good enough right now to operate as our chief creators. So not only are we not converting as many chances, we're even creating fewer chances. And I would throw a question back at them that if we have performed good in certain games, you know, see Leicester, see Chelsea, Tottenham, of course, then why chop and change? If a formula worked when obviously Emery doesn't have his own players, quote unquote, then use the players you have in a system that has worked. Why chop and change? And I'm sure they wouldn't have an answer for me.
Yeah, it's a complete mystery. But look, the next month for me is just really going to test us out big time. Like, I'm not, once again, I know a lot of people are Emery out, Emery in. I'm not Emery out. I'm not Emery in either. I'm taking a leaf out of your book, Schwinn. I'm actually on the fence. I'm very disappointed. Yeah, like all Arsenal fans, I can't believe that. I just cannot believe that we lost to a team like that. I just don't get it. The whole Ozil situation is just frustrating to watch now. It's just becoming sad for Ozil, for the fans, but yet you continue to pay him, you know, $350K a week, well, reports suggest. And I don't get it. I just don't get it. People will say that, yeah, but he won trophies at PSG and, you know, he's a great manager and he's tactical genius. He's a video analysis. He's this and that. But, 6 months he's been at Arsenal, I suppose, and I haven't seen any of that, to be honest. I've seen change of formations. I've seen different players in and out. I've seen him, whether the media's beaten it up or not, I've seen egos to just a new level. You know, like he can't handle them. He can't handle them big players, and Ozil, I feel, is one of them players that, you know, has got the rough end of the stick here. But there's no vision, and I've said to you boys before, there's no vision, there's no plan for the future. Like I was saying to, you know, you lads, that there's some great young players, and we were discussing it coming through the Dutch leagues, and I think you alerted to me that some of them are around the 50 mil Schwinn, but I wouldn't mind coming a sixth, seventh. I wouldn't mind losing the odd game to a fucking, and no disrespect to Barté, but to a team that I don't put in the top 10 teams in the world. I wouldn't mind losing these matches if I saw a vision going forward for the future. But a Denis Suarez signing, for me, is not a statement signing. A manager coming out at the start of the transfer window, and we can only loan players? Are you fucking kidding me? We can only loan players? Like, I don't get what's going on. I really don't understand the whole fucking thing. Tony, your thoughts on all that?
That's bullshit. I mean, there's no point in me speaking for 5 minutes to reiterate what's just been said. I think it's blindingly obvious.
No, it definitely is, mate. It definitely is. Look, we've got a second leg against them now coming up. We hope that we get through. A question for you boys, though. If somehow we manage to beat Barté in the next leg, what's our chances, Tony, in the Europa League?
You never know. Look, we've seen us be poor against some shit teams and good against some good teams. So you never know what's going to happen on any given day. Look, we've had Chelsea, who are, I think, second favourites to win the Europa League. Had the Chelsea League games been a two-legged affair, I don't know ifs and buts and all that, but had that been the case, we'd have gone through on aggregate 4-3. So, and they're the second favourites. So it's not. I'm not going to look at this result and go, "Oh, that means the whole world's going to end and everything's over." But yeah, what are our chances? Who knows? We might not be in this competition this time next week. We should be, but then we should be winning away to Barté, who haven't played for 2 months. I was going to cut in when Schwinn was speaking, but he was on a roll, so I let him go. Last time Barté played a football match, we were still 22 games unbeaten. How long ago does that feel? Do you remember how long ago it felt like when we lost to Tottenham and then Southampton back to back? Barté hadn't played a game since then. You cannot lose to that. I was arguing with someone on Twitter last night, and some people will have seen it on the timeline, that I would expect an Arsenal team that are a full strength given what's available. Obviously, we know we've got injuries, but they picked the strongest players that were available to them at this moment. I would expect Arsenal to beat any team on the planet that hadn't played for 2 months, if they're with their strongest 11, let alone Borislav Automotive Tractor Engineers or whatever their actual name is.
Look, we don't want to disrespect the Barté fans because
that's their name.
Very good. Oh, is it? Okay. What is it? Tractor.
It's something along the lines of Borislav Automotive Tractor Engines or something.
No. Jesus Christ. Okay. Well, I don't want to cut you off, but just quickly, and obviously your odds are going to be different over there. So I've just pulled up the odds for who's going to Champions League's winner odds. So you're looking at Chelsea, then they're favourites over here.
That's not ahead of ourselves.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Europa League. Fuck. Europa League. So Chelsea $5.50, $5 around about that. Napoli's around about the $6. Arsenal around about the $7. So we are third.
It was the same before. I mean, I don't know about the actual prices, but I think before this round of fixtures, Chelsea were second favourites to Napoli, but it was all the prices were around the same. We were still third, but it was very close. Yeah,
there's not much difference between them. And then you look at Valencia, Inter, Sevilla, 10s, 11s. So I'm just going to look. Barté. About 1,001. Sound about right? Fucking hell. Nah. $250. Fuck. Fucking unfucking believable. Surprised at AC Milan, $21. That's not a bad bet. Inter at 11.
I don't know any of yesterday's scores though, which would have impacted things because I forgot football existed after our game.
Yeah, actually, I didn't even see any of the other results either because I was fucking over football by yesterday as well. So anyway, so we're not really going to sit here and talk about the Barté game because, as you can tell, we're all a bit down in the fucking dumps here, and we really don't know how to type of steer the ship through that game. So, and you as listeners would be just listening to us moaning and swearing and saying probably stuff that we've already said over every other podcast. So because we haven't got a game coming up this week, we've decided to...
Tez, can we just do man of the match quickly?
Oh, mate, if you want.
Yeah.
Have you got a man of the match?
Because he had his name written on the team sheet.
Like I said. Schwinn, you want to throw a man of the match in?
Absolutely not.
Tony, fucking. No, I get where you're coming from there a little bit, because I've seen still a lot of people, and for me, like I said, missed quite a few, good couple of chances where they should have been goals. And
that doesn't matter. His name was on the team sheet, so he gets man of the match. That's how football works.
Yeah, it is crazy. It really is fucking crazy, because I've never ever, and we've said it here before, never ever seen a player get so much love from Arsenal fans. The bloke could literally, I don't know.
Careful.
Yeah, I am. Be very careful. Look, he could have the worst game out of any player for both teams for 6 weeks running, and he would still get man of the match and still have all the love in the world. And it just baffles me. I'm fucking absolutely confused as to what he does.
Just because I'm known as the Lacazette hater or whatever, I will go on the flip side that he probably has been our best player for the last month. But I mean, it's just getting ridiculous where he gets sent off, he comes out and apologises, and people go, "Oh, at least you showed some fight, man of the match." Like, he knows he's done wrong. It's okay to say it. You can love him, you can lick his arse all you want. If he knows he's done wrong, why can't you see it? And as I said, he has been our best player for the last month. I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but it's just getting boring. Like, you're going through Twitter or you're looking at people's match ratings. Lacazette 8 out of 10. Like, on what? Like,
yeah, I know.
He's missed our best chance. He was offside when he didn't need to be when he had his goal disallowed. He's got sent off 8 out of 10. Like, literally, just write his name on the team sheet and give him man of the match before the game starts, and then judge the other 10 players, because I'm bored of reading Lacazette man of the match when he hasn't been. As said, when he is, fair enough, go give it to him. But this trend of just, Lacazette was on the pitch, so he must have been the best player, is fucking boring.
If that was a Granit Xhaka who got red carded and took a couple of shots, and I'm not saying Lacazette did, but if Granit took a couple of shots, where he takes them, stupid shots at times, and he got a red card, mate, there would be blood. Twitter would light up, the world of Arsenal Twitter would light up like no tomorrow. The hate towards him. But anyway, as I was saying, so what we're going to do is go through the team sheet, go through who we are going to sell, who are we wanting to loan out, and what was the other one? Who are we wanting to keep?
So look, just before we start, are we doing this on what we want or what we think will happen?
What we want. I want your opinion, I think. Because if we go
Schwinn's going to be in trouble. Got to give an opinion, Schwinn.
Oh, fuck off.
So, Schwinn, you got to come down off your fence, my friend. And
I was just recently told that I abandoned the fence a few weeks ago.
Oh, were you?
So I'm not quite sure what you guys are on about, but sure, I'll try my level best.
And so obviously what we think, because if we go what the majority think, well, we're all going to sound exactly the same, aren't we? So let's start with our goalkeepers. So we'll go, obviously we've got the 3 goalkeepers, and we'll start with the youngest one first, Martinez. Tony?
Is his contract not up?
It is at the end of this season.
Yeah, I mean, he's been on loan. Obviously, he's on loan at the moment. He was on loan all of last season. His contract's up. They loaned him without extending, so I think it's pretty much all she wrote in terms of his Arsenal career. I think the fat lady has cleared her throat.
You agree with that one, Schwinn?
Yep, bye-bye.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to agree with that. Okay, now, as we're going through these first-team players, boys, I want you also to give a bit of a rating on how you think they've performed so far, because the next bloke, Leno, we know he's contracted until 2023, so he's obviously going to be staying. So let us know what your thoughts on his performance so far as well, Tony.
It's an obvious keep. I don't think he's been as good as many are saying. people are saying like how great he is with his feet, and I think he's comfortable with the ball at his feet. I think his kicking's quite poor, especially longer. He never seems to find the target. So yeah, I mean, I don't think he's really a first choice keeper. I think he will be because of the budget issues. He's not, as we've said many times on here, we have A grade problems, B grade problems, and he's not an A or even a B grade problem. But I don't think long term he's a first choice keeper, to be honest. That may be a bit harsh.
Mm-hmm. If you had to rate him out of 10?
7.5.
Okay. Schwinn?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think he hasn't been as good as we initially thought. I think some of the gaps were probably overlooked with that unbeaten run, as has been the case with most things that we overlooked. Although I think there is scope for improvement with a better defense, with better ball-playing defenders. Maybe Leno can, his image will be enhanced a bit. Having said that, I'd probably give him a 7. So I'm giving him more credit for the future than Tony, but I'm giving him a lower rating than Tony.
Okay, yeah, I don't want to echo your boys' thoughts. I agree with you. So I just think our defence makes him look ugly at times. It just, I almost feel for the bloke. Like, I think he's a better goalkeeper than our defenders make him be at times, because he's forced to. Fuck, imagine being a goalkeeper behind our fucking defence. Fuck, mate. Yeah, look, around the 6, 7, I'd rate him. Check, so he's retiring. Contract ends in June. Now, with this play, obviously he's going. Wish him all the well. Thank you very much, Check. You've been awesome for us. However, do we go for a young, upcoming goalkeeper, or do we go for an old head, Tony?
I think it all depends on budget. As I said, when we're looking at A, B, C grade problems, I think probably an old head, because we're just seeing young talent cost more and more, and especially if bigger teams are looking at them, and they won't go completely, like, they're not going to go for an unnamed 17-year-old. Young talent will probably be a 21-year-old that's starting week on week out in the Championship, or a 21-year-old that's doing well at a lower league team in Spain or something, which is still going to cost you a lot of money, or a decent amount of money. So I think it's budget dependent, but I'd probably expect an older head. Maybe there's still legs in the Keylor Navas. I mean, if the rumours are about 15 million worth for him, I know he's since extended his contract, but I mean, there's usually, if there was an option to sign him, then that extra year contract isn't going to make too much difference. And if he is available for the 15, 20 million, I think that would be a decent signing for an okay figure, and I think he'd probably come in as number 1.
Okay, Schwinn?
Yeah, I'd agree. I think Leno has, again, he's shown enough to not be discarded just yet, and I think he would benefit from someone who is a bit more mature and experienced in that regard. Of course, the elephant in the room is Spina, and I'm not sure what his contract situation is, but keeping budgetary restrictions in mind, I wouldn't be surprised if we have him deputized for a year, maybe play in the cup competitions just the way we tend to manage the goalkeepers, and go hunting for someone who can either compete with Leno or be a more strong voice for Leno in terms of his age and experience come next summer. I also wouldn't be surprised if we look at some goalkeepers who are available on a free this summer. I'm not quite sure of who they might be. I think off the top of my head, Adrian from West Ham is available on a free. And if I'm not wrong, even Willy Caballero might be available on a free. So I wouldn't be surprised if Ospina's move is made permanent, or if he's running out of contract this summer, that we look at one of these goalkeepers, someone who can help Leno understand the league better and improve his game.
Yeah, well, that was actually, when I said 3 goalkeepers, for some reason I wrote down Martinez, but it was Ospina. So obviously at Napoli, we believe it was a loan with I don't know if it was an option to buy now, Tony, I can't remember, or he comes back to us. So if he does come back, though, I wouldn't be surprised he may stay as a number 2 goalkeeper to Leno.
I'd be surprised if they don't want him, because the fee is crazy low and he's been playing week in, week out for them as far as I know. So, and I think the fee's about 3 million. So I'd imagine he will go to Napoli.
No, he'll probably go then if it's that low. Yeah, okay. Okay, boys. Next is our favourite one, Mustafi, Tony. His contract runs up in 2021.
I mean, what? I mean, look, I want him sold, to start off with the obvious. What's difficult is you've got to look at the fee they're going to get, which wouldn't be much, and then you've got to replace a body. So you've got Mustafi going out and you get 10, 15 million at a push for him. Who do you get to come in? It's difficult. So, I mean, I know we're doing this on what we want. So sell is my obvious answer. But I think in practicality, it's a bit more difficult than that.
Okay. Schwinn, Mustafi?
Gotta sell him.
Sell him?
Gotta absolutely sell him. I mean, look, I think, he has a lot of moments, right? There's no denying that. But I think he has shown some positive signs this season. And I think this is the best time to get rid of him, because he has shown that he can be a decent defender, just not at a club like Arsenal. Now, again, of course, the question is how much we get for him. But I'd argue if we get anywhere close to 15, 20 million, which I honestly don't think is going to be that much of an ask. Maybe I'm just being overtly optimistic here. But I'd snatch your hand for a 15 million offer.
Okay, I agree. I want to sell Mustafi as well. I do see Tony's point, though. 15 million doesn't buy you much, but hey, it's a gamble that I'm willing to take. Socrates, now, which threw me, he's only contracted to 2021 as well, Tony.
Yeah, he signed a 3-year deal. I'd imagine there's an option. Arsenal never used to use options in contracts, or very rarely, but I know Lichtstein has got an option, so it could be something that either Husfami, Raul has implemented, that players will now have options. So I'd imagine it's free with an option.
Yeah, okay. So you want?
I don't know that, but as I said, it's stuff they've started doing.
Yep. Sell or keep?
Oh, keep, without doubt.
Yep, no worries. Schwinn, Socrates?
Yeah, keep.
Yep.
Keep for me as well. I think next season he'll continue being one of the starters at centre back, but I think come the season afterwards we'll have to move him into a more of a squad role player who can deputise for someone else. I think if we don't buy a centre back this summer, which would be absolutely moronic, but if we don't, I think Socrates and Holding will be our starting centre backs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, obviously keep. It's a very, very easy one. Rob Holding, contracted 2023, Tony.
Yeah, I mean, even if we wanted to get rid of him, we couldn't, because his legs don't work at the moment. But it's another obvious keep, I think. Okay. He's potentially someone that we could build around for the next 10, 15 years at the back. So, I mean, I don't think there's anyone in the world that would say sell. Cue someone now saying sell just to make me look like a dick.
No, he's got, bright future, I think. Schwinn, you agree with that?
100%.
Okay, next one, I will throw to you first, Schwinn, this time, Kashani. He must have signed a new contract 2020.
Yeah, that's what the internet seems to believe. I was under the impression that his contract runs out this summer, but let's proceed with the assumption that it's not till next summer. I'd keep him just because he knows the league. We won't get any money for him. At the beginning of his, when he returned after that injury, a couple of games he seemed very, very shaky. But, it really says it all at the moment that he is the one who is holding this defense together. And I think some of the younger players could benefit from him. It's always good to have someone who understands the club around, and keep him for one more season as a fourth choice defender, center back, and move him on the summer afterwards.
Tony, I'll go to you, but I will remind you that you're the guy that said, and I remind all our listeners, that you didn't want to see him in another Arsenal jersey after one of his performances.
Yeah, I mean, probably a bit reactionary, and he has improved since then, which I didn't see coming. I'm not one of these people that has to sit here and be right all the time. If I say something at a time and it leads to being wrong, I'll hold my hands up. You get some people that would still maintain Koscielny shit just because they want to be proved right. Having said that, if he is up this summer, I wouldn't extend him. If he does have another year, then I would keep him for that year and then not extend him then. I don't think there's a case for selling him in the summer if he's got another year, or terminating his contract early, because you probably wouldn't get a fee for him. But I don't think we should be extended. Based on what we're seeing currently, I don't think we should be extending if it is up this summer.
Yeah, I just reminded you that because someone will say, but Tony said. I'm glad you cleared that up, mate. Mafropanos, Tony?
This one depends on who we've got in, because as much I want to see him play for Arsenal, but if he's not going to get minutes, and he can't get in at the moment when we're playing three defenders and we don't even have three defenders, it was him that missed out on the Europa League squad, right? So, yeah. I mean, I'm going to say loan because I want to see him play football. Right, no, I want to keep him. So we're doing this on what we want. I want to keep him. I want to see him playing. I think we should loan him because a manager, for whatever reason, doesn't want to play him.
Mm-hmm. Schwinn?
It's a tough one. It's a very tough one because we just don't know what our priority is going to be in terms of what the club is going to be looking at or who they're looking at right now. I'd keep him as well, just because I think he would benefit more from staying with us and training with, some of the attackers we have. I cannot see him going to a Premier League team on loan, and I think that's the only way he would improve on loan. So it's tough. Look, if a decent club from Germany comes calling, I could be tempted into saying yes, but I'd like to stay around, to see him around and see what he can do.
Okay, I'm going to go against you, boys. I want him out on loan ASAP. I wanted him to go in January, and it didn't happen. So I just think he needs minutes if he's going to mature. And he's definitely one for the future at Arsenal, but it's no good him just sitting on the bench week in, week out, or not even getting in the team at all to sit on the bench. So as well as, it's great to have him around the club and stuff, but I want him to learn his trade somewhere and then come back to us. Kolasinac, Tony?
Keep. We know he can't defend. He's probably been our only attacking threat in terms of making chances in the last 6 weeks. The wing-back role does kind of seem to suit him. Is there better out there? Yeah, but again, if we're going down the list of A to Z grade problems, he's one of the lower letters in the alphabet. He's not someone we're screaming out for to be replaced anytime soon.
His contract runs up in 2022, so I imagine he's staying for a long time. Well, at least till then anyway. Schwinn, you agree?
Unfortunately, yes. If you had asked us this question last year, I'm sure both of us would have said sell. I think the reason we're asking him to stick around is because Monreal's contract runs out, and to look for two left backs in the summer is going to be very, very hard. What I can imagine the club doing is keeping Kolasinac and bringing in a younger left back, someone who can potentially compete with Kolasinac, and give them both a season to see who comes out on top. Hopefully, a new left back is someone who's on the radar and he can eclipse Kolasinac. Let's be honest, it's not a tall order. And then we can move Kolasinac the following summer.
Okay. Let's go to Monreal now, and he's out of contract this summer, 2019, Tony.
Yeah, there's been rumours about an extension or talks of an extension for ages. I would, again, just because we're going to be so light if we let all these players go that are out of contract, and I don't think we're going to have the budget to be able to replace all these players. So, for me, it's a keep. For me, if he's being sensible with money and he wants to stay, because obviously now the ball's in his court, I think it's an obvious keep. But that's my opinion.
Schwinn?
me, it's let him go. I think we've seen signs of deterioration. I think it's time to cut our losses and bring in some fresh legs at that position. I mean, this is nothing against Monreal. I think he's been a very good servant. He's come up with some crucial goals at times and some crucial performances. But we have to be a bit more ruthless. And I completely agree that it's going to be very hard to replace some of these players, with our budget restrictions. But I think you have to be ruthless and take chances at this point. So let him go.
I am going to say let him go as well. For the same reasons you say, Schwinn. I think nothing against him. He's been a brilliant player for us over the years. But it's come to a time where I think, what is he, 32? I'm looking towards the future. I'm looking towards Kolasinac as well, what's he, 20, 25. So I'm thinking a young left back, and let's build a young left back for the future, and thank you, Monreal, for your service. Hector Bellerin.
Just to sort of caveat on that. So far we've got rid of Mustafi, we've loaned out Mavropanos, we've got rid of Bellerin by your 2 ratings. How are we replacing these players? And we're already light in defence as it is.
No, we haven't got the Bellerin yet.
Monreal, not Bellerin.
Yeah.
Bellerin. Yeah. So how are we replacing it? Where's the money coming from to replace these players? Plus all the other areas we need going forward.
Well, this is what I haven't got to the end of mine yet, because when I'm thinking of who I'm getting rid of, I'm also thinking of we're going to generate some income to replace some players as well. So there may be some big names by the time they're at the end of this list who I think we need to let go and generate some income.
Fair enough.
Bellerin, Tony?
Yeah, I mean, it's an obvious keep anyway, even though I'm not his biggest fan. We're a much better team with him in it. And also, you couldn't sell him this summer because he wouldn't pass a medical. So, I mean, again, even if he was fit, I'd be saying keep. The injury plays no part in my decision.
Yep, well, he's contracted till 2023. Schwinn?
Ditto.
Yep, I'm the same. Carl Jenkinson, a.k.a. Who is he, Tony? Gunnosaurus, fucking. Look, he's coming out of his contract, thank fuck for that. Everybody's probably thinking, well. But do you want to re-sign him, Tony, or do you want to let him go?
New deal, make him captain, make him manager. No, I'm joking. Unfortunately for Jenko, I think his time has come. So yeah, I mean, again, it's more money off the wage bill. I think Jenko's a little bit harshly treated in that we see him as a bit of a joke figure, and he's not a terrible footballer. He's not Arsenal standard, but when you see it's going to be somewhere between £45,000 and £65,000 a week off the wage bill, it's a no-brainer.
Yep, I agree. Schwinn?
Yeah, I mean, just quickly, I've been noting these tidbits that we've been saying on players, whether we want them to stay or let them go. And I just wrote down Jenko on the notepad, and it auto-corrected it to Junk. I guess that says it all, really.
Again, this is where I think Jenko's harshly treated, but he's not good enough for us.
That's fucking rough, Schwinn, eh? Pull your head in, mate.
Yeah, look. If you can let Nacho Monreal go on a free, I think we can let Jenkinson go on a free. That's all I'm going to say on that.
Okay, well, this next player, Lichtsteiner, he's going to be the new Gunnosaurus if we let Jenko go. Tony?
Yeah, I mean, again, he's another one whose contract's up, I believe. He's got an option. I don't think he's on as high as wages has been reported, because I just don't think he is. But, again, the only issue is we're now going to be... look, personally, get rid of him. Again, that's obvious. I think 99% of Arsenal fans will say the same thing. But I think we've already let go of 6 or 7 players, and we haven't made it to the midfield yet. and that's going to be an issue. So we can say get rid of this player, get rid of that player, but we at some point are going to have to start thinking the number of players. Like, we're not going to go and buy 10 or 12 players, but based on what we've said so far, we're going to need to. So I think it's a caveat. Yes, I want Lichtsteiner to go, but not all of it's impossible for all of these players to go that we're saying.
Schwinn?
Bye-bye.
Yeah, same. See you later, mate. Fucking worst signing. Oh, it'd have to be close to one of the worst signings in Arsenal history. Fuck me. I'd have to. There is a list, but his name's fresh to my mind. Lucas Torreira. Tony?
Oh, keep. No brainer.
Yeah. Schwinn, you agree?
Yep, keep.
Okay, Granit Xhaka. He's contracted 2023, Tony?
For me, keep, no brainer. Many others would probably disagree, but for me, it's a very easy non-discussion.
Schwinn?
I think he's one who's going to fall victim to my idea. I think he needs to be let go. Sell him.
Okay. Right, that's Schwinn crossed off the podcast forever.
It's never irrelevant.
Look, we need to get money somehow, don't we?
Oh, mate, you'd only get $5 million for him. Come on.
We'll make.
Okay,
get another lick.
How much have you generated by selling Granit?
I think we could bag 20-25.
Jeez, I'd like to think got more. 30, 40.
I mean, look, obviously depends how many buyers and who are the buyers. If you have someone like an Everton come in, then sure, you could maybe stretch the negotiation a bit further. But I think something reasonable would be 20-25.
I'm writing that down, 25. So you got to replace a few players with that 25. I'm going to say keep, obviously. Yeah, I'm starting to look at these players. I need to generate some money here soon. El Neni, well, here's one. I'm going to generate 10 million with El Neni, Tony. I'm selling him.
Yeah, agreed. I get the benefit of squad players, but when you're 6th or 7th down in the list and the young players are now starting to overtake him, for me, it's a very easy decision.
Well, there's depth there, isn't there? There's plenty of depth there.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. You could argue at the start of this season he was probably still seen ahead of Willock and ahead of Emil Smith-Rowe. I know they're slightly different positions, but they can all be classified as midfielders. He was ahead of them guys, and now I don't think he is. So, and then obviously Guendouzi's coming in, and probably no one thought he'd be ahead of El Neni this season, but again, he is. Yeah. So I think El Neni's just slipping further. He's a squad player, but he's slipping further and further away from the squad, and I don't think there's really a need for that player.
No, so how much we generated there? 10 million, you reckon?
10 max, I think.
Schwinn, you agree?
I do, but I don't think we'll get 10. I think we'll get 5, maybe 7.
Okay. Ramsey, so he's gone. Oh, when is El Neni's contract up? 2022. Okay. Ramsey, yeah, he's gone.
Yeah, keep.
I agree, keep. We should have kept him. Guendouzi, Tony? No,
Yeah. I mean, this again, it's an obvious one.
Schwinn?
Keep.
2022, his contract. Denis Suarez, Tony?
Don't sign. No, don't take up the option.
I'm with you. I've said it all along. I don't know what those fucking people see in him. I don't get it. Schwinn?
Get the fuck out.
I would genuinely, and this may seem a bit reactionary, I would genuinely rather see Smith-Rowe play. I'd rather we kept Smith-Rowe and didn't loan Suarez, if I'm completely honest.
100%. 100%.
And you wouldn't have had the fee. You wouldn't have. I'm assuming Suarez's wages are higher than Smith-Rowe's. I'm almost certain. So you wouldn't have to pay a loan fee. You wouldn't have the higher wages. For me, it was just a weird deal. And I'm not basing that on. Look, it's unfair to judge him on performance because he's played 20 minutes 3 times. But just the type of player he is, what he offers, I don't really think we need. So yeah, for me, it was just it's a no-brainer of a deal all around, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. No, I hope they don't sign him, but I have a funny feeling they will, mate. Maitland-Niles, Tony?
Keep.
Schwinn.
Utility man, can do a job in many positions. Yet to see him in his best position properly. But me and you were having this conversation the other day, and I said anyone that's playing. When I say first team games, I mean I count yesterday as a first team game because the first team played, and then the league games are all obviously. Anyone that's playing 20 to 25 first team games a season, starting that many games, they're in your plans. It's not like you said, he only got a chance because of injury, but he's done it now two years in a row. Like he's started 25 first team games at least, and he's broke his leg in between. So for me, he's a bona fide member of the first team squad now.
Yeah, true. I want to keep him as well. Schwinn?
Yeah, look, ideally I'd loan him to a club where it's clear he would play in central midfield because that is obviously his position. But if we're letting Jenkinson go and Lichtsteiner go, we need someone who can deputize for Bellerin. And I don't think to ask the club to bring in a left back, one, maybe two center backs and a right back is something that is going to happen. So yeah, I think for the next year, he'll continue to deputize as a right back to Hector.
Okay, we'll go to you first, Schwinn, Ozil.
Oh, boy. Look, I think it's clear I want him to stay. But if he's not going to play, then get rid of him. We haven't helped ourselves in protecting his value. We haven't given the player enough incentive to look for options abroad. We're alienating him. And that's only going to instill malice in him towards the management and the staff, more so the management, of course. And it will drive him to the point where he'll only leave where he gets an offer which is at par with what he's earning at the moment, or more, of course. He's not going to take a pay cut because the ending is going to be so sour that he's not going to feel any love towards the club. So if he's not part of the plans, if Emery's going to stick around, we have to find a way of getting rid of him because it's going to be a massive burden that we'll have to shoulder otherwise on our wage books. Would that mean we're subsidizing the move one way or the other? Maybe that's what it comes down to, but it's best to cut our losses, right away instead of just sitting on him and not doing anything about it.
So are you selling him or are you keeping him?
It's tough, right? I mean, I'd keep him.
No, it's not tough.
I'll say keep. I'll say keep because he's not going anywhere. No one's going to come in for him at this rate.
Tony?
My answer to this completely depends on the manager. If it's Emery, sell him because he's not going to play. It's a waste of resources. For me, he would be in my team, so I would say keep. But there's no point under this manager. We're just wasting money. So I'm going to assume Emery's still going to be there, so I'm going to say sell. As I said, it's not what I would personally do, but if Emery's the manager and he's not playing, there's no need for him to be there on that money. I agree with Schwinn. We're not going to get anyone pay that money for him, I think. And even if we do, I don't think he'll go. PSG tried to loan him on deadline day, and the story goes that he personally refused. And on a loan deal, your contract is guaranteed. And if anything, it will go up. It will never go down. He might have got a short-term signing-on fee. He refused. And that's PSG, which is only an hour and a half away. It's not going to China or the MLS. So I don't think he'll leave anyway. I think he'll still be an Arsenal player on whatever day the transfer window closes in the summer, August the 10th or whatever it is. I think he'll still be there. But in my opinion, my judgment is on who the manager is. If it's Emery, then we might as well get rid of him.
Okay. I'm saying sell. Get rid of him. Go on. See you later. You knew I was going to say it anyway, Schwinn, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, look, that doesn't hurt me, because it hurts us. I mean, this situation is so far down the road of being irreparable that just saying sell him doesn't do any good because, the chances of him going are so minuscule and the return we get off of it is so tragic that I'd argue we're going to get less money for him than I said for Granit. That's how bad things are right now.
Mate, I think they'll cut their nose off to spite their own face.
They already are.
But again, that doesn't help though, does it? You can pull my leg sitting there, but it doesn't help us, does it?
No, I get. Well, does it or doesn't it? Like when you say it doesn't help us, he's not at the moment. Like, and I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm not speaking of his ability. We all know he has the ability, right? But when you say he's not hurting us, well, at the moment, it's toxic. It is very toxic. It's almost like the 6 months leading up to before Sanchez left. It was just toxic for the club, toxic for all involved. It was toxic for the fans. And we're just seeing a whole repeat of that again. And we're paying.
There's a massive distinction that you're forgetting, though. The player is not kicking up a fuss.
I'm not saying
to Tony's point. To Tony's point, the kid said no to going to PSG, where he could be playing with the likes of Cavani, Mbappe, and Neymar in the Champions League with a guaranteed contract. That tells you he is more than willing to fight for his spot. If that was Alexis Sanchez, he'd be gone by now, easily. Right? And more importantly, let's forget all that because that's in the past. If we let him go, let's assume we get optimistically 20 million for him. I think that's...
Mate, I was going 2 million. I think there's that much hatred or that much negativity between Emery and Ozil. He'll cut the whole nose off despite his own face. 2 million, 5 million at most.
Sure, let's go with 10, right? Just for the sake of argument. How do you replace that output? How do you replace that quality? Who's going to be the creator?
He's not playing at the moment. So we've already replaced him in Emery's head. He's already been replaced.
The answer is Alex Iwobi. Like,
he's already been replaced.
That sounds to everyone. Yeah, exactly. I agree with Tez on that. To be honest,
no,
I don't agree it's right. I don't think it's right, but I agree with what he's saying.
Yeah, I don't agree. I don't think it's right, Schwinn, either. But in Emery's head, he's not in the plans, mate.
No, look, I'm not disagreeing with that. As I said at the top of this discussion, that if Emery's around, then he has to go, right? But the only thing I'm questioning is that do we have the financial resources, or indeed someone scouting a hidden gem? Of course, that man is gone now, but maybe we have another scout who has someone unearthed that can come in and replicate, to at least some extent what Mesut has done for us all this while. We need a creator. I think it's very clear.
But he's already using Iwobi. So in his mind, he's already been replaced.
Emery, is Iwobi going to...
me and you know, me and you and every other fan know that, yes, in answer to your question, can we replace Ozil and his creativity? No. But in Emery's head, at what he's already done, he's already replaced Ozil.
No, as of now, that is correct. He has, obviously. But my question is, does Emery see Iwobi as the chief creator, to use a term, at the beginning of next season? If the answer to that is yes, then fuck no. Jesus Christ, we cannot... I mean, this is nothing against Alex. He's very young and he cannot have that burden on him. Maybe he's not even good enough, one could very easily argue. But we need a creator. And I'm not saying Mesut Ozil is the answer, definitely not under Emery. But we need a serious packet of money to be able to bring in someone who is going to be serving as our chief creator next season. Do we have that? I seriously doubt it, because we have a lot of priorities in terms of bringing in players. So how do we go about it?
I wouldn't be surprised they go for James Rodriguez on loan. I wouldn't be surprised he'd be the number one target. I don't think it'll be this is just my opinion, I don't think it'll be a transfer, because Real Madrid have, from what I read, they want to keep him, but does he fit into their plans and their side? Maybe not. So they might loan him out for 12 months.
It depends. Again, that's another one that depends who their manager is, because the current manager is not having Isco at all. And if he's still there, he'd keep James over Isco.
Mm.
I'm not saying we'll get Isco. If Isco comes available, I think there's a whole worldwide, world-class clubs that want him, and we're not in that list at the moment. But I think something like James depends on what's going on at Real Madrid.
Yeah, look, I'm drawing a long bow, and I'd just like to think if Ozil is on the outer, and there is, there's plan. Well, obviously the plans are in place, because he's not even getting a look in on the team sheet. So I'd imagine they're leaning towards sell, and I think they're probably already looking at players in line, unfortunately. So in answer to your question, hypothetically, Schwinn, I don't think Iwobi is your answer, and you're dead right. I don't think Emery does see Iwobi as the answer, but what we all tend to know now is he doesn't see Ozil in his plans at all, which is very unfortunate, mate. I agree totally with you. I want to keep Ozil, but the way things are going, I personally just can't see it.
Yeah, tough for me to argue with that because it's a situation that really has no other solution, and there are some factors here which are fluid. The manager situation, how much have we driven Mesut out of the club that he is willing to take a pay cut, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, the situation is going to evolve over the next few months. Let's just hope whatever happens of it is somehow salvageable. I guess we can all agree on that.
Yeah, absolutely. If he doesn't start another game all year, I'd hate to see. And you said he hasn't retaliated yet, which he hasn't. But I think, geez, by the end of the year, he's entitled to retaliate.
So, I mean, I always say this. I think he's got the best PR in football, and if he doesn't start next Thursday, and then, I mean, I'm assuming we're going to win, but when we next lose a game, if I was him, I'd go full flow with the PR. Because his PR team are so good, especially if we've just lost. Because now every time we lose, it's put down to not playing Ozil, whether it's got anything to do with him or not. So I would go full flow and put real pressure on the club. If I was him, to be honest, it'll be just completely separate from this whole discussion we're having. Does he start on Thursday?
My heart says yes, but my head says no.
Where you're at a bookie's counter, you've got $10, yes or no?
No.
There you go.
I don't think Emery is going to. I don't think Emery is going to rely on Mesut Ozil to bail him out. I mean, look, it's a 1-0 situation, so let's be honest. We shouldn't need Mesut Ozil to bail us out. But I think, in terms of PR, I think it puts Emery in a precarious situation, and I think we've seen that the personality he's exhibited so far. He's not. He wants to act as the alpha, and he's not going to rely on Mesut Ozil to save him.
Well, if Arsenal come out and beat Ozil starts and we beat him 3 or 4-0 or whatever, Emery's the one going to look like egg on his face, and I don't think he'll put himself in that situation. Okay, next one, Mkhitaryan, Tony.
So,
Schwinn. Yeah. Oh. Sorry, go.
Well, I think pound for pound, he is probably more harm to the club than Ozil is. The issue of Ozil is obviously he comes with the big name and the big following, but Mickey on 200 odd a week with a year left on his contract, remember that, is more damaging than Ozil on 350 for me, because he doesn't. In all fairness, I thought he was okay yesterday. Quite a lot of people gave him stick. I thought he was okay, and I thought he was our best player against Huddersfield. But based on now 18 months there, I can probably name 5 good games for 200 grand a week. And the only reason he's getting away with that is because there's someone earning more than him. Otherwise, he would be our attention of what's going on with Ozil, except Ozil has a lot of people backing him. If it was Mkhitaryan and the whole Ozil situation didn't exist, I think less than 5% of people would be backing him. I think he's very lucky that the Mesut situation is going on, to be honest.
Schwinn?
Just before I give my verdict, Tony, are you sure his contract runs out next year? Because Transfer Market says 2021.
It does too.
Oh, sorry, maybe I'm wrong. I thought... Did he sign a free? Oh, yeah, maybe I'm wrong.
But was that an option to buy, though? An extension?
No, I mean, I don't. I mean, obviously, Schwinn not started the story. Schwinn told us the story before that there's a ridiculous percentage hike in order to extend.
Yeah,
60%.
Yeah, I mean, I don't quite believe that, but anyway, to be honest, he probably does have another year after that, because a 2.5-year contract wouldn't have made sense for someone his age. But I mean, regardless of, I would still get rid of.
Yeah, I'd sell. How much are you generating for Mickey, Tony?
20, 25 maybe.
Yeah, okay, Mkhitaryan, I'm going to go sell as well, and I'm going to take my 25 million and run as well, Tony. Next one on the list is Iwobi, Tony.
I think, well, I was going to say every year we've done this. This is only the second, but I feel like I keep saying loan because I want him to get chances somewhere. The pressure's not pressure's not on him so much. But he's now probably at an age where he's too old to loan. He's 22, 23 now, I think. At what point do you just have to cut the tie? But look, I mean, we are going to keep him. That's what's going to happen. What would I do? Sell him, probably.
Okay. Contracted to 2022, 15 to 20?
Yeah, give or take.
That's
Which
a
is
bit
very
rich,
annoying,
isn't it?
because you get people like Solanke and Ibe going for 20 million who have never played. But I think sometimes not playing does you a favour because you're the unknown. Where Iwobi does play and isn't setting the world alight and is poor more often than he's good, it lowers your value. I think if we'd have had this kid Iwobi that was doing bits for the under-23s but never really got a chance or only played a few games, I think we'd be looking at a lot more money. It's very annoying.
Yeah, okay. Schwinn, what are you doing with Iwobi, mate?
I'd keep him for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think he can be someone who's impactful off the bench. I think if he's our second attacking option off the bench, it could be beneficial. And the second reason is I don't believe you'll get anywhere close to 15-20 for him. I think 10 is probably what we're looking at, a bit more than an Elneny. And at that point, I don't think it's easy to replace him. So I'd keep him.
Okay. I'm going to say sell Iwobi, and yeah, I'm going to take me 15-20. I think, I'm just looking at that transfer market. They say 25. I know that is inflation. I don't know how they come up with these figures, but that's
also euros.
Oh, it's euros too, is it?
Yeah, but they're practically the same fucking thing.
I don't think there's much difference now, is it?
It's like 10% difference, but transfer market's nonsense. A few weeks ago, I had Xhaka at 40-something million. I just literally, while you was away, me and Swim were talking about something else, and it brought up a list of young strikers, and it's got Gabriel Jesus rated at 63 million, and that said he's gone down. So presumably he was 65 million plus a couple of weeks ago, and you're only worth what someone's willing to pay, and to pay that. Yeah. No one's going to pay 25 for Iwobi, I don't think.
Yeah. No, but I reckon 15 to 20 is close. You know, you might have a Leicester City or somebody like that who might pay that. So yeah, I'm going to say sell. Okay, now Aubameyang, Tony.
Keep.
Schwinn.
Keep.
Yeah, I'll keep. I was thinking there he could generate some good money then.
No, but I don't think he would. That's another thing with him.
That's what
what's he, 29 now? I don't even know if we'd get our money back for him. And that's not based on ability. Maybe we would, but I don't think we'd make a profit on him.
Mm-hmm. Lacazette, Tony.
Man and match every week. Obvious decision.
So you'd keep him?
Yeah.
Aubameyang's 2021. Lacazette's 2022.
Again,
yeah.
Aubameyang, I'd imagine there's an option because he came in since Farmy's been here, and that seems to be the way Farmy does things.
Okay. Schwinn, what are you doing with Lacazette, mate?
Keep.
Okay.
How much are you going to sell him for, Tez? Go on, say it.
I'm going to keep him.
Interesting. I thought someone big was going to be off the books for you.
No, it's very hard though, isn't it? It's very hard. Well, Ozil was the one that I was going to sell.
Yeah, but it doesn't generate
anything.
We'll get to this at the end because what we've said as a collective is laughable.
Yeah. Actually, I'm going to sell Lacazette.
Yeah, you are.
I'm going to sell him. I'm going to get.
Don't worry about upsetting people. We know that's what you wanted to do anyway.
I'm going to get 80 mil for him.
80 million?
Yep.
Pass whatever you're smoking around, please.
How much you reckon you'd get for him?
Are you talking rupees?
Okay, well, let's say 60. 60 fair?
Still a bit rich.
Oh, really? Come on.
I think he's at par. Look, he's improved, no doubt. But anyone who comes in for him is going to try and lowball us. They know we'll need the money.
Real Madrid.
So
Real Madrid, they'll pay a bit for him. Atletico Madrid. He was going to go there, wasn't he, at once upon a time? Don't know if Atletico would pay the 60 though, would they?
To be honest, I think they're probably one of the better shouts, but then they've just spunked a load of money on Lamar, so I don't know what their budgets are like. Again, that's because the other thing, again, what I said earlier, you have to think of a buyer when you're putting the prices on these players. And I think Lacazette's at least a £60 million player, to be fair. Do I think there's anyone out there that will pay that for him? Probably not, and that's where your issue comes in.
Well, I'm selling Lacazette. I'm going to generate some income to fix this team up.
So let's go with 60 for now. Why not?
Okay, let's go 60. Welbeck, well, shit, next year, this summer.
He's gone. I mean, look, again, I would re-sign him. I would give him a new deal, but the club aren't going to, so he's gone.
He's off. Another one that walks out the door for nothing. And Monreal, another one as well. Schwinn?
I'd keep him. I know he won't be fit till maybe, September, October, November, perhaps, match fit by November. But I think he's one that we have missed a lot ever since he's gotten injured, whether it's rotation, energy, take-ons, defensive tracking, you named a lot. And we've missed Welbeck in wide positions, particularly on the right. I know it's not his best position, but he's better than most. He's certainly better than Aubameyang being shoved out there. So I keep him and use him when he's fit for at least the second half of the season.
Okay, now I'm not real sure on contracts here. Reece Nelson, Tony?
Keep. You've got to give him a year or two. Look, again, I've said this many times. I don't think he'll ever be an Arsenal player. I know a lot of people have high hopes for him, but we have to give him that chance. Sometimes people come in and surprise you in good and bad ways. So I think we should obviously his loan will be finished. Give him the pre-season and give him that shot. Make him the second choice right winger, arguably, and see how he does. It's sink or swim. As I said, long term, I don't think he'll be an Arsenal player, but I would definitely give him that chance.
Okay, Schwinn?
Yeah, I keep him. I just checked according to Transfer Market. His contract's till 2022, if I remember correctly.
Signed an extension the day he went out on loan.
That's right. So I keep him because I think this is the time where we can tell whether he's ready or not. And as Tony said, as our second option on the right wing, I think he'll get decent amount of time, particularly in the cups and some of the domestic competitions. Maybe in the Europa League if we're still in it next season, and we can assess whether he's good enough, particularly in terms of his physicality, to continue playing for us.
Okay, I was going to say sell, but until you told me 2022, so I'm willing to give him one chance next season. Because I was more concerned if he fails next season, then because he's had a pretty good season so far in the Bundesliga this year. So his value has probably gone up. What is his value just out of interest, Schwinn?
Transfer Market, 17 million.
Okay, Jesus, that's high up there too. So I'd imagine that's on the back of pretty good season this year. So far he's been pretty good, but it is a worry that the 17 million's. If he comes next year, I worry that might drop down to 10, and he's probably worth nothing, and people are going, well, he didn't really make it. So it's a tough one. Do you sell him while he's hot, or do you take a gamble on him? Probably got to take a gamble at contracted 2022, so I keep him. Okay, Eddie, Tony.
Loan, but again on the caveat we get a new striker, because you've sold Lacazette. I think Welbeck's off. So I mean, for me and Schwinn, we only have Uber and Lacazette, and then Eddie in reserve. And you only have Aubameyang and Eddie. He needs to go out. He needs to get minutes. He needs to go and play. Obviously, we were looking at loaning him out on deadline day a couple of weeks ago, but couldn't get anyone in. I think he has to go and play football, but we need bodies. There's no point loaning him out if we're left with one striker.
Okay, Schwinn?
I'd loan him. I mean, considering I'm keeping Welbeck, I think we have a bit of depth in there. and obviously I don't think Aubameyang and Lacazette are going to start every game week in, week out. So there's scope for rotation there.
Okay, yeah, I'll keep Eddie as well. Look, I'll go through
Keep
these. Sorry?
You'd keep him.
Oh, no, loan. Sorry, loan. I'd keep him, but yeah, loan him out. Sorry. Yeah. Willock, Tony.
Difficult one because I never saw a future in him, but I've been quite impressed with the majority of times he's played this season. He seems to be a level above where I thought he would get to. He definitely needs minutes that he's not going to get at Arsenal. I mean, the debate for me is between loan and sell, and I'd probably loan him again. Similar situation to Reece. Give him a chance to prove himself. Loan him somewhere and see what he does there. See if he ever is going to be a first team contender. I think, again, if this was a year ago, I'm probably almost certain I did say sell him a year ago. But he seems to have upped his level a bit, and we need to see if he can do that week in, week out against a better level of opposition, because so far it's been in Europa League and against Blackpool's and Brentford's in the Cup. So we need to see him against a better quality of opposition every week to see where we're going from with him.
Okay, Schwinn?
Sell him.
Yeah, I'm going to sell him as well, mate. Okay, Smith Rowe, Tony.
Keep.
You wouldn't dare sell Smith Rowe, would you?
Oh, it wouldn't make any sense anyway. Saying that, he's probably the most valuable of our youngsters because he still has that unknown. But I mean, for me, he's looked good every time he's played. He's looked maybe not physically, he's not first team ready to play week in, week out and whatnot, but when he's been in the first team, it's not like you look at him and think he doesn't deserve to be here, or he looks like the kid that's just making his way into the team. He's looked like an established member, and when he's played with what you'd say his peers, the Willocks, the Eddies, the Medleys and whatnot, he's the one that stood out. He's the one that looks above that crop of players. So for me, I think if any of our youngsters in brackets are going to make it, I think Emil's the one, to be honest.
Yeah, okay. Schwinn?
Keep. I think he's versatile, can play central midfield, can play across the front three, can provide some healthy competition for the likes of, I don't know, Guendouzi maybe to an extent. Certainly Reece Nelson can play in the hole, when it comes to domestic competitions. So I keep him around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll keep him around as well. Ospina we've touched on. Just making sure. I think that's about it, boys. Chambers.
Chambers, yeah.
Chambers. Tony?
Sell.
Yeah.
He's obviously not interested in using him. It will generate funds of some form. So, sell.
Yep. What are we getting for Chambers?
15.
15, yep. Schwinn?
I'd actually keep him. I think with El Neni leaving, and for me, Granit Xhaka leaving as well, I think he's someone who has played in midfield for Fulham and has actually done a decent job. Of course, we know he can play centre back, can sort of do a job at right back, so I'd keep him.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with Tony on this one. I'm selling Chambers. Okay, so out of this, we've sold El Neni. Schwinn, you've sold Granit. We've all agreed on selling Mickey. Chambers, me and Tony are sold. Did we all agree on selling Iwobi?
Nope.
No.
I'm selling Iwobi, am I?
Yeah, and so is Tony.
And Ozil was selling, and I'm selling Lacazette. So I've generated a few funds there. How many players I've got to replace now?
1 or 2 keepers, 1 or 2 centre backs, a left back, a right back, a creative player, because you're selling Lacazette, 2 strikers, and a winger or 2.
A full 11, almost.
Full 11.
Basically, we're sweet in centre midfield. now make the rest of them.
Oh, that's easy.
So can I suggest, can we stop recording for a second and just tally up whatever we talked about and maybe come back to the show?
So we just stopped the recording for 5 minutes. Well, we just done a bit of maths on who we're selling, who we're keeping, and how much we've got left. So, Tony, you want to go through the figures?
Yeah, I mean, start off, we put a budget of 70 million because, I mean, the reports, one journalist is saying 45 million, another saying 100 million. So we split hairs and put 70. And then we've obviously gone through all the players we've sold and what we've said we would sell them for. So for me, I have a budget of 150 million, which is 80 from player sales and 70 from the budget we just decided. Schwinn has 140 million, which is 70 player sales, 70 budget. And Tez had 125 million, 155 million player sales and 70 million in the budget. With that money, so we needed, it depends on the person. So for me, I have 150 million and I need a second choice keeper, a right back, a second choice right back, a centre back, a left winger and a right winger. So that's what I need with my 150 million. With Schwinn's 140 million, he needs I'm assuming, second choice keeper, a left back, a centre back, a centre midfielder, and a left winger and right winger. And with Tez's 225 million, he needs a striker, a left winger, a right winger, at least two centre backs, a left back, a right back, and a keeper.
Shit it in, boys. We'll have to work.
So Tez, you need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players with your 225 million. With my 150, I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And with Schwinn's 140, he needs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Doable?
No, not for me. not with quality.
No, isn't?
No, I mean, look, you can get away with nominal. I highlighted that it would be a second choice keeper and a second choice right back for me. So you can get away, of my 150 budget, you can probably get away with only spending 20 to 30 million on them too. And then I need 3 more players, but they're in key positions because I need a centre back, a left winger and a right winger, and I've got, say, 120 million to play with. Yes, it's doable, but is it doable with any form of quality? Especially, I mean, what does 40 million get you for a winger nowadays? So especially if you're going to be looking at someone young that's got a sell-on fee, if we're going to remain self-sustainable, then there's no, I mean, look, Perisic, we all know you could get for 40 million, but you're never going to sell him on, so that's not what we're looking at.
Yeah, looking at these younger players, like me and Schwinn were talking about earlier, you know, these young upcoming players that are running around. I can't remember who I was even talking about now, but yeah.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Even looking at, you could potentially say a Leon Bailey or something, but that's going to be 40 million, and I've got on average 40 million to spend on a left winger and a right winger and a centre back. And I think you struggle unless you cut corners, but then that's not where we want to be. So for me, with what I need with my budget, I would suggest it's not possible. I'm not putting words in Schwinn's mouth, but his isn't possible because he needs a centre midfielder, which is going to be a high-ticket item. He also needs a left and a right winger, a centre back and a keeper, and he has less money than I do. So I would imagine, again, Schwinn might think of some way out of it, but it doesn't look like that's doable. And your one, 225 for 10 players.
255.
No, it's not 255, it's 225.
Oh, 225, was it? Okay. So
225, but you need a striker and 2 wingers, which are, again, high-ticket items. So I would imagine you would struggle to do it as well, to be honest.
So I've got about 28 million to play with each player.
And not to mention wages. I mean, it's not.
We didn't take in the wages, did we? We didn't take into that, so we can't have.
No,
that.
but I mean, perhaps proceed with the assumption that this war chest includes wages as well for the players that we're going to bring in.
I freed up a shitload of wages with Ozil.
Yeah, losing Ozil and Mickey and Lacazette for Tez, it clears your wage bill anyway. And Ramsey's going again. You got to think Welbeck out, Ramsey out. Like the natural clearance, Lichtsteiner. Monreal is the natural clearance, probably looks after itself.
Yeah,
interesting. I
mean, it's a tough squeeze. I mean, when I'm looking at the positions I have to fill, a second goalkeeper, I think a free is what we were looking at for that. A second choice, a young left back, someone with potential, And maybe
are you, sorry, just to cut in, with Kolasinac as the only person in front of them and the only other person that can play there, are you going for someone who's young and maybe inexperienced, knowing full well that if Kolasinac is injured, which he seems to be a lot, or just playing not very well, which is more than capable, or if we have to play a back four at any point, you don't trust Kolasinac there for a long time, I'm not sure I'd be comfortable with a young left back, to be honest. I mean, I didn't need one in mine. I kept Monreal, but for you two, I personally wouldn't be comfortable with what you just said.
No, I mean, I wouldn't be comfortable at all, but I think that's the way the club is going to go. I don't think we're going to give Monreal an extension, and I think the way forward is going to be to bring in someone in the ilk of Guendouzi, young, somewhere in the, anywhere between 7 to 15 million, let's say, and someone who has a lot of potential to, at least in the eyes of the club. I think that is going to be the route to go down.
That finds them players.
What's that?
Didn't we just sack the guy that finds them players?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't get me started on that.
Look, I just to put a little bit in the context of my budget, Tony, and you just to show you how far it'll obviously go, and I agree with you. It's definitely not enough. So Kasper Dolberg, 50 mil. Herving Lozano, 50 mil.
40.
I'd go 40, to be honest, yeah.
40, and let's throw in Golovin, because I needed the midfielder, didn't I?
Yeah. You didn't need a centre mid.
I didn't need a centre mid.
None of us replaced Ozil because it doesn't look like a 10's going to be used in this system.
Oh, okay. But just to get an idea, what would Golovin, 40 mil?
30?
Probably not that much. He went for 20 in the summer and hasn't been excellent. But they want money. They'd want more, I guess.
Okay.
I think 30 is fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
it doesn't go far.
So you've done 120 so you've got 105 left, and you need two centre backs, a left back, a right back, and a keeper with 120 million.
Benjamin Pavard. So
he's gone to Bayern.
What did he go for?
Nothing. Oh no, sorry, he did. There was a fee. I don't know what it was, but he's gone.
Yeah, no, it is very interesting, boys. I need a keeper too. Jack Butler, he's still available. 25er.
Yeah, again, okay, so now you're at 80 million and need a right back, a left back, and two centre backs.
I know. I'm just showing. I don't think it could be done. Oh, look, it could be done with
on the cheap.
Yeah, on the cheap. Maybe 1-2 really good players in there, and then the rest type of squad players. But then I don't want to take anything away from the team that we follow now. But when I look down at that team, and after what I watched yesterday, I tend to think who's actually up to scratch in that team.
It'll be interesting to post this out to our followers and whatnot, and who they would sell, what they're getting in. Be realistic. So who you would sell, what money you're getting in. Forget about wages for now. And who you would buy with that money. And as I said, I've put 70 million as we split hairs between 45 and 100. So if we all say a 70 million budget when you're doing this, it may be more, it may be less. Say we've got 70 million, then sell your players and replace what's needed. And it'll be interesting to see what they come out with, because although I know what we've said is not realistic, because I don't think any club's going to ship that many players, but it's not possible on any of our budgets looking at it, really. Not to a decent level.
No. Look, and even if you bought, like me and Schwinn were talking about, the young kid from Napoli, Schwinn, Fabian
Ruiz.
He's probably... these young kids, they're just... Tony hit the nail on the head in that conversation, that they just seem to be going higher, aren't they? Like, as you described with Iwobi.
I mean, yes, but you have to... I mean, look, let's be honest, our knowledge when it comes to targets is obviously restricted by what we hear in the media. No one had heard of Guendouzi, and the kid has gaps in his performance, especially defensively, but he has been a bright spark, right? So
I think we also have to be careful, because, I mean, you've done this quite a lot where you say, you will just get another Guendouzi, but how often do they come about? Like, every time we've had the sort of transfer discussion, you go, we'll go down that Guendouzi model, but it's happened once. And also, let's be honest, he's not ready for first team football. So we're speaking about someone that could potentially be, I don't want to say generational, but a transfer that's sort of generational, in that we've got a gem for not much, but they're still not ready. And that's happened once in however many years. So I don't think basing anything off that is a wise idea, to be honest.
Well, for one, I mean, I agree completely, but I think that is the way forward for us.
No, of course it's the way forward, but are them players there? Do they exist? I said we've got one who's not ready for the first team. And that's where we're at. We're basing everything on something that's happened once. Just like saying, we should just go and get another free defender like Sol Campbell. Like, it happened once. We can't base everything off of that.
Yeah, it's very hard.
And I feel like we are doing, as fans, I mean, I'm not just picking on you. I feel as fans, we're doing that. We'll just get another player like in the Guendouzi mould. And it's like, again, you can't base that on something that happened once. We signed Cesc Fabregas for about a tenner from Barcelona. Let's do that every window as well.
But I don't want to sound like I'm defending Schwinny, but just in general though, Tony, you have a look at around the world. Like, I know you're saying just us, but then you have a look at around the world with all these young players. You know, these Leon Baileys and you know, like even
he came through the academy.
Rashford.
They came through the academy. That's completely different. That's not the same as, because we know what's in our academy. We can speculate on them. We can't speculate on these players that may or may not exist that you can buy for 5 million from some chateau in France that are going to come and be Premier League starters.
Yeah,
I'm not. Youth players is completely different. Is a different aspect completely. But I'm not expecting us to know who these gems are. But I think it'd be foolish to bank on them, especially more than one. As I said, we've seen one in however many years. Well, who was the last player that we signed as a youth player that has gone on, especially in the first year, that has gone on to be... Fabregas wasn't a player in the first year. Ramsey wasn't a player in the first year. I don't think we've ever seen anything like what we're seeing with Guendouzi. Tottenham maybe got it with Dele Alli. I'm struggling to think of too many others, but we're relying on that for 3 or 4 positions every window.
Well, what about Lucas Torreira? Who had really...
It takes 30 million for him. It's different.
Yeah, but who had really heard of him prior to him coming?
Everyone in Italy.
Well, I had. He
was in a World Cup squad. But again, it's 30 million. We're talking budgets here. So that if just because you haven't heard of him, if he costs 30 million, it still takes a large chunk out of your budget. Yeah. I think it's completely, I don't want to say irresponsible because it's not our decision, but I think it's bordering on the ridiculous to expect to just find these players every window, because they just don't happen. As I said, I can think of Guendouzi, who I still don't think's ready, but let's say he is for the sake of this conversation. Yeah. And Dele Alli, who was brought for cheap and went into the first team. I'm really struggling to think of too many others. Like, again, I said before Guendouzi, he was the last player that done that for Arsenal. And I'm not being a dick, I actually can't think of one. Well, I probably am being a dick, but I also can't think of one.
So you're not talking about the young type of stars that are worth the 40, 50 million. You're talking about the...
No, because they still come out of your budget. I think there's a lot of people, we found Guendouzi for 7 million. We can do that 2 or 3 times again. And I'm like...
So you're not talking, the Timo Werners and stuff like that. You're talking about these guys who are playing in some...
Well, as I said, everyone keeps saying, we'll find someone on the cheap to fill that gap. I mean, as I said, what brought me onto it is Schwinn said, we'll find a left back and maybe 1 or 2 others in that mould of Guendouzi, and like that same sort of profile where you've not really heard of them. You pay 5 or 7 million and they turn out to be good enough. But for me, what I'm saying is I don't think, as I said, you may get one of them players a season, and that's be it like throughout the league, and I think even that's being generous.
Roma got a couple, but yeah, no, I do see your point.
But even with Roma, like they tend to. I mean, they got that kid that scored 2 the other day in a swap deal.
Under?
Yeah, but they paid for him, didn't they?
They paid about 13 million for him. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and Kluivert they paid money for. I don't really know how he's doing, to be honest. You'll know better than me, but they pay money for these people. They're not these really. There's 5 million gems. They're not in the Guendouzi mould.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe maybe Under you could add into that, to be fair, because 13 million isn't a wild amount. But
well, he came from the Turkish league or something. Nobody had heard of him.
Yeah, it's more on. I'm going more on value than heard of, because if you're as I said, you're looking for something that doesn't really touch the budget. with how much you've got to spend. And as I said, like again, you even let's count under. We've now gone worldwide and we've named 2.
Yeah. Well, Kluivert, I couldn't really. I don't think I could really name Kluivert. I can't remember.
No, I would.
Played for him. No,
as I said, I'm looking at say in the last 2 years, you're looking at fucking Guendouzi and Under.
Yeah.
and we want 2 or 3 of them every window. Like this, it's just not happening.
That's hard. Yeah, like you'd sit here, you could probably find a couple more, but I see your point totally. I do see your point.
And then to carry it down, they have to be in the right position as well. It's not good enough just finding them 2 or 3. If you need a left back and there's the next Under, it's no fucking use to you because he can't play left back. He's a right winger. So you're looking at. I think you're in a dreamland if that's the way people think it's going to go, and it doesn't help that we sacked the guy whose job it was to do that anyway.
Anything to add on that, Schwinn, before we wrap up, mate?
No, look, we obviously disagreed on which players we want to keep, which players we want to sell and loan, etc. But what is the consensus is that there's a lot of dead wood in the squad, and it requires a massive overhaul. For each of us. How we're going to do that, obviously, time will tell. But it's worrying that we've had players for a couple of years, in some cases longer, and we're just unable to generate any value for them. So let's see what happens in the summer.
And just to add on that, before I get any hate because I'm selling Lacazette, I'm not selling Lacazette because I don't like Lacazette. I've sold Lacazette just in the experiment to try and generate some income to replace players, because I had to try and I knew with you boys at 100 million or 125 million is enough, and I've just proved that 225 is still not enough. Even selling Lacazette, so fuck, boys, we're screwed. We're completely fucked. So anyway,
putting it mildly.
Look, by all means, Tony, you might be able to put something up on Twitter a bit later, and after you listen to the podcast, let us know your list. You can let us know on Twitter at @clockend_talk, because I'm interested. If you can generate more than us and replace some, let us know. Geez, I don't know who else you could sell. I'm just racking my brain. And we put in mind, like, what do you say, Tony, with Aubameyang? He's probably not worth the 75 million, whatever we paid for him. So, players like that.
Yeah, and I think also, I know what you was doing with Lacazette, but I think selling your top players defeats the object because you're trying to improve. So if you've got 1, 2, 3 or 4 top end players who maybe are not world class or maybe are world class, but they're just short of it, getting rid of them probably isn't the way to go. Maybe it is.
Nah. Yeah, no, it's definitely a hard one, but it's definitely not lucky. It's not our headache, I suppose. Okay,
yeah, no,
yeah, okay.
7 or sell 10, get 5. I saw something on Twitter last night, and I can't remember who it was that tweeted it, but if you include Guendouzi as a first-team player, this is the first time we've signed 4 first-team players in one window since they went back as far as 2000, and it had never happened. So obviously, like their argument was that it basically is Emery's squad. He's had more in one window than Wenger ever did in one window. So obviously he's got Leno, Socrates, Torreira, and as he said, he counted Guendouzi, whoever it was that tweeted it. So for us to be sitting here thinking we're going to get 6 or 7 is obviously ridiculous, but we're just looking at what we need.
Yeah. Okay, boys, thank you. And
thank you very much.
No worries, it's been fun, and thank you everybody for
manager.
Listening. Oh yes.
Right.
What are you doing with the manager?
Sweet.
I want him to go. I'll be honest. I haven't seen anything in the last few months apart from some isolated games where I've had some positivity, but it's really been it's been very, very hard, and in some cases tragic. Whether that's on the field or off the field. Mislintat's exit, it's all compounding, and I know it's not Emery's fault that Mislintat is going, but he is a part of that equation. And of course, everything that happens on the field is very much Emery's responsibility, even if it's not directly his fault. I just don't think that some of the things that Emery is doing, whether it's man management or player management, they just haven't worked. And I don't think he's the right man for it. I hope I'm proven wrong, because it seems he'll be around. But if I had to make a prediction based on yesterday and the last few weeks, I'd say he'll be gone.
Okay, I'm going to go opposite you, Schwinn. I'm going to say keep. And look, a couple of reasons. I don't know what he's doing, okay? None of us do. I don't know what he's tactically doing. I know that's a weird reason, but it's not really a reason. But for me, that really did blow me away when he came out. A manager came out in January and said, we can only buy players on loan. Now, I automatically thought, okay, you've been told by the owner that you will not have a budget this January because you can only buy players on loan. So I think, I don't know if the owner has his back to start with, which isn't good for Emery, or doesn't trust him with the budget that they want, or they're testing him or whatnot. I don't know, but something for me is going on there. So therefore, I can't put the transfer window on Emery's head. I got to put it on more so. Somebody told him he can only have players on loan. Secondly, this thing with Ozil it is an absolute mess. But on the other hand, is he doing what we just did? Is he actually trying to get Ozil out of the club to generate some money to spend on players? Speculating, yes, I know, but it just doesn't seem right to come in for 6 months and one of your best players has sat on the bench probably more times than he's played. And it's just bizarre, fucking bizarre to me. I don't get it. So the only thing I can put there is he's trying to sell him in the next window, generate a few bucks so he can spend in the budget. Yes, we went on a 22-game winning streak. Yes, he started off well, not a winning streak, but we didn't lose. So things were going pretty good. I wonder whether another one or two players in Emery's mould, whatever the fuck that mould is, he might move the team forward. For me, a bloke can't come in for 6 months and have absolutely no fucking plan. There has to be a plan in his head to go forward. So I'm willing to take the ride for a little bit longer just to see what this plan is. But I really want to see the plan start next summer. Because if we don't see the plan start next summer and he comes out on that fucking media press thing again and says, I can only sign players on loan, there's going to be some fucking pissed off cunts around the place. And I'm going to be one of them, because that means to me you have no fucking plan, you have no backing from the owner, and you might as well pack your fucking shit up and go now. So that's the only reason why I'm willing to give him that little bit extra chance. Anyway, Tony.
I want him to go. As a lot of what you said is reasons for him to go, to be honest, but then you caveated it at the end. So I don't want to repeat a lot of what you said, but I think 8 months into him being in charge, we have no system, no style, seemingly no plan. I'm not going to put any blame on him for transfers, but he did get 4 players, whether they're his or not. You can't just go, but it's Wenger's team, because he got 4 arguably first-team players in the summer. I don't trust him to rebuild. So I know there's a lot of people saying, I'll give him a window, let him get his players, but if they're going to be Benegas, you getting Benega in and getting rid of Ozil, I mean, that's not really, I don't think it's going to improve us. And I think long term, it could do us more damage losing your better players and bringing in his players who for me, aren't the answer. Probably not long term, probably not the type of player we need. He's dragging the morale of the fans in general down with his style. For me, I don't think he's earned the chance to rebuild. As I've said this so many times on here, it's not because we will get replies going, but he's only 1 point off fourth, and next week, in theory, he should be in the top four because I think as Chelsea got Tottenham and United have got Liverpool or something, so in theory we should be in the top four by next week. I'm not going on league position because I'm not looking short-sighted. I'm looking long-term, and for me, I don't think he's the man to take us where we want to be, really. So yeah, for me, I'm not a fan. To be honest, I haven't really ever been a fan. I was a fan of what he said before the season started, and then the moment we started playing, pretty much, I've been not too critical. I've been critical where it's due. Yeah, so for me, it's I don't think it will happen. I think he'll still be a manager next season. But if it was up to me, it'd be Adios Unai.
Just out of curiosity, Tony, and a few people have been saying Mourinho in. Just give me your insight of what he would do, you think, to change Arsenal. But keeping in mind, he doesn't have the backing of a transfer window with money.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I wouldn't get Mourinho in, but our defence would be less leaky. And we would probably play less defensive-minded players. So there's an argument to say, even though he's a defensive manager, he could probably improve us at both ends of the pitch if the players took to him. Look, we all know with Mourinho that the players have to buy into him. And when they don't, it's a complete waste of time. When they do, he creates some very good teams. I hate the bloke, but you can't argue that when he's got players behind him, he's successful. So I think he would shore up the defence. And as I said, with less bodies, so there might only be a back four and two holding midfielders, which then leaves more bodies available to attack. So in theory, you would be attacking more and score more. So I think he'd probably improve us at both ends of the pitch very quickly. As I said, I wouldn't be voting for it. I definitely wouldn't.
Yeah.
But I could see how a Mourinho-like manager could improve us. He would never get the fans back in, and that's the problem.
Yeah. Schwinn, just quickly, if you had to pick one name off the top of your head to come in, because you guys said Emery no-go, so...
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to pick an ideal name, but I'll just go off on Mourinho because you brought him up. I'd be honest, I'll take him in a heartbeat. I think with this squad...
I never thought I would hear the day that you would say that.
No, to be honest, to be honest, I've never really been a Mourinho hater. You know, I can understand the malice people have towards him, and of course, with Arsenal, he's had a tainted past. But with this squad itself, I think he would overperform compared to Emery. I think he would build a team around the best players. He's very, very good at coming into a club and establishing the we versus the world sort of ideology. It doesn't work for too long because players get frustrated with that. But I would give him a 2-year contract. And, well, he might not accept it. That's a different thing. But I'd give him a 2-year contract. And I'd argue with this squad, he would improve us compared to what Emery has done.
Because because you never asked me who I would bring in. You just brought Mourinho in my place. I'm not sure. I've heard rumours that he's signed a pre-contract elsewhere, but I'm not sure. But if he hasn't, it'd be Nagelsmann for me. I know his results this season have not been brilliant, but long-term identity, he'll get the team playing a way that the fans could get behind, which is important, even though it probably shouldn't be. He would have better players to work with, and I think he could do a lot as long as he commanded respect, which is always going to be an issue of a young manager. Are the older players going to respect him when they're pretty much the same age? But if I had a choice now, a realistic choice, and Emery was to go in the summer, I'd go Nagelsmann.
I'm going to get some big hate here. Because I'm a big believer of, and whether he's still got it, I'm a big believer of Louis van Gaal when he was at Ajax. I think
I'm so glad you're keeping Emery, because that's a ridiculous opinion. No, I'm joking.
No, I just think he's really good at nurturing along young players. Look, he didn't have a good run at Manchester United, and he did cop a fair bit of flack. And a lot of people who watch the Premier League only have that opinion of Louis van Gaal. I've read a couple of his books. I've been a big fan of him since he was, coaching, back with Ajax, Netherlands. I just think he's got that. He's got that style where he can actually rebuild your team on not maybe a huge budget. So and like I said, I'll probably get a lot of hate because a lot of people only seen what he did at Manchester United, and it didn't really end well. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents. People, fucking Tez, you useless cunt. You don't know what you're talking about. Also, let us know who you would want in charge if you are on that Emery. I don't want to say out. What's another word for it?
If you would like an alternative manager.
Yes, an alternative manager. Okay, boys. It's been a great show, and I feel a lot better at the end of this show than I did at the start. So, okay, thank you everybody for listening. Thanks for downloading, and you can follow us at _talk. We'll have this on YouTube and all good podcast apps. And I don't know, we might come back next week, Tony, and do something else. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, we're 6 days away from a game now, so I'm sure, especially if we don't go through, I'm sure there'll be a meltdown pod this time next week.
Thanks, Schwinn, for turning up, brother.
Thank you very much. Can I just say a couple of things real quick?
Yeah, mate. Of course.
Number one, thank you, Ryan, for the suggestion on doing this. We were planning on doing it in March during the international break, but considering the circumstances that ensued after yesterday, we thought we'll do it today. And secondly, there was a terrorist attack in India yesterday. Oh, shit. So thoughts with everyone there. 40 people lost their lives. So it's never good news when people die, and it's especially bad when it's because of people inciting terror. So thoughts are with those folks out there.
Yeah, well said, mate. And yeah, thoughts are with them people for sure. Okay, guys, thank you again, and we'll speak to you later. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Bye.